cook in a hotel in Southern California was apparently plotting to gun down co-workers and guests because of a problem at work. That, according to cops in Long Beach, who say they found an arsenal of guns inside his home. The police chief says the suspect had multiple weapons, an assault rifle, tactical gear, dozens of high-capacity magazines, and hundreds of rounds of ammo. The suspect apparently told a fellow employee he planned to shoot up the Long Beach Marriott. That worker then told the hotel's general manager, who reported the threat to police.
And because this was reported, I firmly believe many lives were saved.
Yeah, the cook faces multiple charges. A judge has set his bail at $500,000. Since the massacre at a Walmart in El Paso earlier this month, law enforcement officials say they have arrested more than 24 people for threatening to commit more mass shootings throughout the U.S. Let's bring in former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan. And Stuart, when you hear about the arsenal, assault weapons, 38 high-capacity magazines, hundreds of rounds of ammunition in California, what goes through your mind?
It's hard to imagine, and this is exactly what the issue is, that even though these states such as California and New York have the strictest gun laws, we still see many individuals have these illegal high-capacity weapons and magazines and ammunition. And so obviously there's a little bit of a disconnect as to the effectiveness of gun control as it stands in today, and we need to do more.
And it's important to point out that this person did not have a history of a criminal history background. But in California, that doesn't matter. In California, you're not allowed to have an assault rifle. That's the bottom line. So these things are getting in somehow, Stuart.
Yeah, they're definitely, obviously, if there's a will, there's a way. And I think across the board, law enforcement understands that if you are intending on getting a weapon, whether legally or illegally, there is an opportunity out there to get it. I think the lesson here is that we are seeing that threatening to shoot up an employer's place of business or school because of now how many arrests have just happened in the last several weeks. I think the pendulum has turned, that it is no longer a laughing matter. It is no longer going to be left to law enforcement to sort it out during the investigative stages. They're going to go out and apprehend these individuals, bring them to justice, and leave it to the courts to decide as to how they're going to be dealt with.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point, and I want to play this soundbite from the Long Beach police chief about intent. He thinks, look, if you see something, say something, and this really goes to that point. Watch this.
We understand that sometimes individuals feel like they may be overreacting, but this incident highlights the importance of coming forward when someone is a witness or may have any information regarding a crime.
So this fellow employee turns him in, and what the police say, Stuart, is they were very, very concerned. I mean, we mentioned the rifles and the high-capacity magazines. What they were more concerned about was the specificity of the actual crime, the details and the plan. What do you make of that?
So here's the lesson. You know, early on, we all learned don't yell fire in a crowded place. It's not considered protective speech. The lesson here is you can no longer, through the internet or through just communicating individually, try to suggest that you are intending to commit a mass shooting. If that information is disseminated to a group of people, individuals, or through the internet, whether it's social media, law enforcement is going to go out, and if they determine you have access or actually in possession of a weapon, they are going to take enforcement action immediately. There is no longer going to be a wait-and-see type of attitude. Law enforcement, unfortunately, has been held to some scrutiny in the last year or two with respect to Monday morning quarterbacking. I think the pendulum is now turned, and the lesson here is threatening or suggesting that I'm going to go out and carry out a mass shooting is no longer a laughable matter. If you say it, understand and appreciate there's going to be severe consequences.
But here's my last point on this, Stuart. I mean, this guy was kind of, look, he was telling his coworkers that he was planning on doing this. We hear so much about these mass shootings, and they come out of nowhere. In your experience, do you often see mass shooters who actually kind of telegraph their intentions?
Great question. And here's what we definitely see. We see certainly immediately before the intended act, there is some sort of form of communication, whether it's posting a manifesto or a last will and testament, or they start to sell off their personal assets because they understand that they're probably going to end up either committing suicide or being killed in a shootout with law enforcement. The moral or the lesson here is that law enforcement understands there are certain red flags that are left during the planning stages or during the initial steps of going out and carrying out this mass shooting. We want people to understand if you see something, if you hear something, we cannot afford any hesitation. Bring it to the attention of law enforcement, and law enforcement now is going to immediately react. No more Monday morning quarterbacking, no sorting it out on the street. They're going to apprehend you and prosecute you.
And in this case, it worked in this case. Stuart Kaplan, former FBI agent. Good of you to join us, sir. Thank you.